रेडी? देखो एक वर्ड आता है लीगल, बड़ी फ्रिक्वेंटली आता है, एल और गेल, ऐसे ही बनाते हो लीगल। लीगल एक्शन आ जाए तो यहीं पे लीगल के साथ में आप केमेशन लगा देंगे, प्रोड्यूशन करके क्या पढ़ेंगे इसको, लीगल एक्शन। लीगल एडवाइजर आ जाए, सर्कल प्लस आर अपवर्ड, लीगल एडवाइजर। लीगल एज, एज। लीगल जज, लीगल एड, लीगल सर्विस, या फिर अब एक साथ आ जाए लीगल एड और लीगल सर्विस। आप लीगल लिखेंगे, लीगल एड और लीगल सर्विस। लीगल की डबलिंग हो जाएगी, लीगल के साथ में एड ले लिया, फिर लीगल के साथ सर्विस। लीगल एड और लीगल सर्विसेज, एस है एक्स्ट्रा, बड़ा लार्ज सर्कल है। असिस्टेंस, लीगल असिस्टेंस, एस प्लस टीन एस। लीगल कस्टडी, एस टी और फिर डी, लीगल कस्टडी। लीगल डिपार्टमेंट, डी से काट दिया। लीगल डोमिसाइल, डी एम एस एल अपवर्ड। लीगल फीस, एफ में एस। लीगल प्रोसीडिंग्स, जो यूज आप अंडरटेकिंग के लिए करते हो डैश लगा दो, लीगल के साथ वो प्रोसीडिंग्स पढ़ा जाएगा, लीगल प्रोसीडिंग्स। लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, आप चाहो तो लीगल का पैटर्न भी फॉलो कर सकते हो। लीगल आर रिप्रेजेंटेटिव के लिए आर टी में भी क्या लगाते हैं, कॉन्ट्रैक्शन है लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव का। लीगल सेपरेशन, एस पी आर ओशन। लिखो ये वर्ड लिखो कुछ, लीगल, लीगल एक्शन, लीगल एडवाइजर, लीगल एज, लीगल जज, लीगल एड, लीगल सर्विसेज। लीगल एड और लीगल सर्विसेज, लीगल असिस्टेंस, लीगल चार्जेस, लीगल कस्टडी, लीगल डिपार्टमेंट, लीगल डोमिसाइल, लीगल फीस, लीगल प्रोसीडिंग्स, लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेटिव, लीगल रिप्रेजेंटेशन, लीगल सेपरेशन, लीगल मार्क, लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट, लीगल पर्सन अटैच कर सकते हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं आएगी। CMS लगाते हैं, ये लीगल हो जाएगा, CMS लगाओ चार्ज हो जाएगा, ठीक है। ओके, मार्क के लिए आप M से काट भी सकते हो और पूरा यूज कर सकते हो, लीगल फिर मार्क। MR और K भी लगाया जा सकता है यहाँ पे लीगल के साथ ही। डॉक्यूमेंट के लिए MN को हाफ कर सकते हो, अगर डॉक्यूमेंट आ जाता है तो यहाँ पे लीगल डॉक्यूमेंट, पूरा डॉक्यूमेंट भी बनाया जा सकता है इजीली। के ओमिट कर सकते हो, आप चाहो तो के को भी बना सकते हो। देखो फ्रीक्वेंसी क्या होती है, जब वर्ड किसी के साथ बोला जाता है तो आपकी इंटेंशन होनी चाहिए उस वर्ड को उसी के साथ बनाने की। फ्रेजोग्राफी का मतलब सिर्फ आपस में एक शॉर्ट फॉर्म का जोड़ना नहीं होता, इसका जो ऑब्जेक्टिव होता है ग्राम लोग जो नॉर्मल वर्ड भी है वे भी अगर एक साथ बोले जा रहे हैं, वो एक साथ जुड़ पा रहे हैं तो उनको जोड़ दो। डे बाय डे एक वर्ड है तो आप सीख चुके हो उसको कैसे बनाते हैं। क्या करते हो आप इसके लिए, डे बनाते हो और यहाँ पे आई लगा के डबल डैश से काट देते हो। एक पैटर्न बना हुआ है, डे बाय डे, मार्क बाय मार्क, इवनिंग बाय इवनिंग, मंडे टू मंडे, ट्यूसडे टू ट्यूसडे, तो उसके हिसाब से आप पैटर्न को यूज़ करते हो। टू के लिए क्या करते हो, टू लगा देते हो उसके अंदर। जैसे लीगल बाय लीगल होता तो लीगल बाय लीगल, लीगल टू लीगल, लीगल टू लीगल, और लीगल एंड के साथ लीगल होता तो बस ये मार देते हैं। लिखो जो कंटेंट होगा उसमें आज ये से 25 के नाम से मिल जाएगा आपको, SSC C ग्रेड टेस्ट 25 यूट्यूब पे। ये 100 वाला तो मैंने अपलोड कर दिया विद कोमा वाला, 80 वाला बस इसके बाद जस्ट मैं 2 मिनट बाद अपलोड कर दूंगा उसके अंदर। स्टार्ट इट। If we look at the provisions of the Constitution, we will find that this resolution is in pursuance of the provision in Article 312. According to sub-article 2 of the same article, we have now the Indian Administrative Service and the Indian Police Service, which according to the sub-article are deemed to have been created by Parliament. Earlier also, we decided to create some other all India services. The reasons for the creation of these services have been given by the Honorable Minister and I entirely agree to them. One other aspect of this question I want to place before this House, and this is that the scale of pay and the prospects in the all India services will be better than those in the state services, that there will be a wider field of selection and that the conditions of service and the scale of pay will attract better persons. We know that quite a large number of our young men, doctors, engineers, etc. are still outside the country. Though they are keen to come and serve the country, the service conditions in the state services are not such as to attract them. I hope and trust that our young engineers and others who are abroad will be attracted to come back to our country and serve it in view of the better prospects. I think that the object of creating an all India service is to supplement and not to supplant the state services. I mean to say that there will still be the state education service, although we are going to have an all India education service also. I know how the states are dealing with it. I know about the state of Uttar Pradesh. As far as education is concerned, we have got a state education service and also a subordinate education service. In the state service, there is a class 1 and class 2nd, there is no direct recruitment to class 1 services generally. Therefore, when we are going to create an all India service, I think the first question which will come up before the government will be as to which of the personnel of the state services are fit enough to be absorbed in the all India services. I find that the Honorable Minister had suggested that there might be a proportion of 33% reserved for promotion. After this resolution is passed by this House, the government will consider the question of legislation for the creation of these services. I read the provision in Article 312 and I know that the creation of these services is possible only by a law, that we have got to bring forward a bill and pass it into law. But as far as the conditions of service and all other things are concerned, they are also to be regulated by Parliament. Therefore, my suggestion is that these things should be determined by rules made under the proposed act, and the authority to make the rules should be delegated to the government in that respect, so that after everything has been gone into a proper decision is made both in regard to the conditions of service and also the proportions for recruitment, for direct recruitment and by promotion. I have seen executive officers working in the states drawn both from the IAS and the provincial executive service. Normally, IAS officers are deputed to the states, and during their posting, they are under the control of the states. They are posted according to the recruitment of the state. I think the same principle will be followed in regard to these all India services also, but it will be desirable that officers serving in one state should not be allowed to remain there for a very long period. They should be taken back from the state and given to another state, or they may be allowed to work in the center. But as far as the administrative control of these officers is concerned, that will be with the states, but at the same time, because they are all India officers, all disciplinary proceedings and action taken in consequence thereof is to be taken by the central government in consultation with the Union Public Service Commission. There is one thing more, and that is this: although these officers will be serving in the states and will really to a certain extent replace the present state officers, still I feel that additional expenditure on administration will be necessary. To think that it will not involve any additional expenditure is, I think, not a correct notion. The finances of the states being what they are, all the elastic resources are with us at the center. It is not possible for the states to bear any further burden. If any additional expenditure is involved in the creation of these services, that burden must be borne by the center and not transferred to the states, because this expenditure is on central services. First of all, I would like to say that I have been an admirer of the Indian Railways for its critical support to the life and living of the people in the country. Secondly, I has had an impressive record on several counts in recent years. Railways carry as freight items like processed minerals, food grains, etc. It has manufacturing as well as repair and maintenance units. It has also very good organizations like the RITS and the ERCON, which have done extremely well in terms of operating results. In this connection, let me compliment the Honorable Minister for his very bold confession on the day he took charge that he was taking charge of the railways in a very good condition. Mr. Vice Chairman, we know that the Honorable Railway Minister was a very eminent trade union leader. Particularly, he was a union leader in the railway industry itself. Perhaps this switchover to the other side of the fence, though agonizing, is a challenge to him. And I am sure he is getting the feel of the challenge and measuring up to it. The performance of the railways during the 11th five-year plan has been really impressive. It has generated rupees 527 crores of surplus, reduced the deferred dividend, and it has reduced its dependence on the general budget. It is of the order of only 41% now. 110 तक की फ्लक्चुएशन के साथ बोला गया है, 100 प्लस स्पीड है, और आपको ये कंटेंट मिल जाएगा 25 टेस्ट नंबर 25 के नाम से इस यूआरएल पर। आप 80 पे लिखेंगे। Start it. Mr. Vice Chairman, Sir, I rise to support the Plantations Labor Amendment Bill brought up by the government for our consideration. Sir, the sad plight of millions of toiling people who sit on various plantations in the country to earn valuable foreign exchange for us is really too much to be expressed in words. These workers live and work in most inhuman and pitiable conditions. These plantations include tea, coffee, cinchona, rubber, etc. And as we know, tea alone is one of the major foreign exchange earners of our country. But sir, it is indeed most regrettable that notwithstanding a lapse of 62 years since our independence, these workers who earn crores and crores of rupees by way of foreign exchange have to live in most miserable conditions. They live in houses that are most insecure and collapse frequently, and when these workers die as a result of these collapses, their guardians and their dependents do not get even due compensation for the loss that they have to bear. Unhygienic living in distant and far-flung areas, compounded with lack of medical and educational facilities, makes their life utterly miserable. These plantation workers have to live in abject poverty, like slaves of their employers, and as we know, most of these plantations are still foreign owned establishments, last vestiges of the colonial rule, the British rule, and as I said, it is a matter of deep regret for all of us that despite enacting an act, the Plantations Labor Act 2001, we have not yet been able to effect any improvement in their conditions. I think the employers alone are not responsible for their miserable condition. We are also as much responsible as they are, because although we could enforce the enactment and we could improve their conditions much earlier, we have failed in doing so. Sir, on the 9th May 2003, this House, the Rajya Sabha, decided that a joint committee should be appointed to look into the desired amendment and put up a draft as early as possible for our consideration. On the 26th May 2003, the Lok Sabha also adopted our resolution, our motion, with the result that a 45-member committee in which 15 representatives were from the Rajya Sabha and 30 from the Lok Sabha was appointed to look into the matter. We are trying to give publicity to ministerial activities, and it is inevitable that some such publicity should be given, because ministers are in charge of the government, but one abroad does not get a real idea of what is happening in the country. I would like to suggest for the consideration of the External Affairs Ministry that they should send a fortnightly assessment of what is happening in India, written dispassionately, not to please a minister or to highlight something that he has done, but to give an objective assessment of what is going on in the country. In the old days, when the British government was in existence, such fortnightly reports used to be sent by various state governments, and I think a beginning can be made in that direction in this matter. The other point I would like to suggest is that publicity is a complicated and technical matter. The Foreign Service, as it is constituted today, does not have sufficient training in publicity. The Estimates Committee, which went into the demands of the External Affairs Ministry, mentioned about the methods of training which have been adopted, but since our Foreign Service men are not trained in publicity work, and one sees, for example, that a lot of confusion has arisen in the United States over Ambassador Nehru's statement. I think the external Affairs Ministry might well set up a committee of members of parliament who are conversant with external publicity and some newspapermen to advise the External Affairs Ministry from time to time. I do not think that the committee will ask for information which is confidential or secret, but they can assist the newspapermen. There are a handful of competent men who would be willing to serve on the committee in an advisory capacity. They would be able to tell the External Affairs Ministry what should be done in order that our news publicity abroad is better. I might mention also that the Estimates Committee had recommended the creation of a cultural cell. Sir, to my mind, we have also to be clear in our mind regarding the objective of rural industrialization. Do we mean to have only diversification of rural economy, and are we going to have rural industrialization only in order to give some help to those who find themselves unemployed during a certain period of the year? Are we aiming at utilizing local resources and meeting local needs through diversification of rural economy, or have we a more fundamental objective in mind when we are trying to industrialize the rural areas? Without this, I am afraid rural industrialization will not be possible. ये 80 की स्पीड पे बोला गया है और ये आपको 24 वाले नंबर पे मिलेगा, आपको 80 पे। ये कोड लिख लीजिए। Ready? Start it. Mr. Vice Chairman, sir, I rise to support the Plantations Labor Amendment Bill brought up by the government for our consideration. Sir, the sad plight of millions of toiling people who sweat on various plantations. ये कंटेंट तो बोल दिया ना मैंने अभी। ओके, ये कंटेंट आपको मिक्स हो गया है, एक्चुअली एक पेज मिक्स हो गया है। ये 27 के बाद 28 का बैक हो गया है। कोई बात नहीं, मैं इसको ऐड कर देता हूँ। जो टेस्ट मिलेगा आपको फिर मैं इसको अपडेट कर देता हूँ। 25 के नाम से कर देता हूँ मैं आपको अपडेट। ये वाला जो लिखा है ये आप ये टाइप करेंगे, जो अभी लिखा है 25 के नाम से, क्योंकि इसमें मिक्स हो गया थोड़ा कंटेंट। आप नेक्स्ट लिखेंगे स्पीकर पे, ठीक है।